I know you're a witch, and you can see the future. Tell me mine.
Everyone wants to know their future. Until they know their future.
This is my father's land. My land. Tell me my future, or I'll have your two boring eyes gouged out of your head.
Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with some juice to get you through the long night. So Game of Thrones is coming back next year, and everyone is sure that Cersei is going to die. She can't live, right? She's the villain. She's gonna be killed. She has to be killed before the Night King, but what if she doesn't get killed? And what if she doesn't get killed before the Night King? What if Cersei Lannister lives? What if she's the only survivor? I would legit fall out on the floor if that was the case. However, I think Cersei's death has been foreshadowed heavily. I think when it's going to happen and who's going to do it has been foreshadowed heavily. Everyone and their mamas mamas know about the Valonqar prophecy. But everyone's opinions differ on who the Valonqar is. And you know what time it is? It's time to continue the Dream series. If you don't know what the Dream series is, where have you been? And welcome. I've compiled all of the prior Dream dissections on a list at the top of this video and in the description box for your binge watching pleasure. So today I'm going to show you the proof on who I think the Valonqar is. I'm also going to show you the proof on why certain people must be ruled out. Proof actually may be a bit of a strong word. So let's just say the Valonqar dream is going to be dissected root and stem, and I have a pretty solid theory that I've had for a long time. And you know, we're just gonna rip this apart like you've never heard before. So let's go. She dreamt an old dream of 3 girls in brown cloaks, a wattled crone, and a tent that smelled of death. The crone's tent was dark, with a tall peaked roof. She did not want to go in, no more than she had wanted to at 10, but the other girls were watching her, so she could not turn away. They were 3 in the dream, as they had been in life. Fat Jane Farman hung back, as she always did. It was a wonder she had come this far. Melara Heatherspoon was bolder, older, and prettier in a freckly sort of way. Wrapped in rough spun cloaks with their hoods pulled up, the 3 of them had stolen from their beds and crossed the tourney grounds to seek the sorceress. Melara had heard the serving girls whispering how she could curse a man or make him fall in love, summon demons, and foretell the future. In life, the girls had been breathless and giddy, whispering to each other as they went, as excited as they were afraid. The dream was different. In the dream, the pavilions were shadowed, and the knights and serving men they passed were made of mist. The girls wandered for a long while before they found the crone's tent. By the time they did, all the torches were guttering out. Cersei watched the girls huddling, whispering to one another. "Go back," she tried to tell them. "Turn away. There is nothing here for you." But though she moved her mouth, no words came out. Lord Tywin's daughter was the first through the flap, with Melara close behind her. Jane Farman came last and tried to hide behind the other 2, the way she always did. The inside of the tent was full of smells: cinnamon and nutmeg, pepper, red, white, and black, almond milk and onions, cloves and lemongrass, and precious saffron and stranger spices, rarer still. The only light came from an iron brazier shaped like a basilisk's head, a dim green light that made the walls of the tent look cold and dead and rotten. Had it been that way in life as well? Cersei could not seem to remember. The sorceress was sleeping in the dream, as once she had slept in life. "Leave her be," the queen wanted to cry out. "You little fools, never wake a sleeping sorceress." Without a tongue, she could only watch as the girl threw off her cloak, kicked the witch's bed, and said, "Wake up, we want our futures told." When Maggy the Frog opened her eyes, Jane Farman gave a frightened squeak and fled the tent, plunging headlong back into the night. Plump, stupid, timid little Jane, pasty-faced and fat and scared of every shadow. She was the wise one, though. Jane lived on Fair Isle still. She had married one of her lord brother's bannermen and whelped a dozen children. The old woman's eyes were yellow and crusted all about with something vile. In Lannisport, it was said that she had been young and beautiful when her husband had brought her back from the east with a load of spices. But age and evil had left their marks on her. She was short, squat, and warty, with pebbly greenish jowls. Her teeth were gone, and her dugs hung down to her knees. You could smell sickness on her if you stood too close, and when she spoke, her breath was strange and strong and foul. "Begone," she told the girls in a croaking whisper. "We came for foretelling," young Cersei told her. "Begone," croaked the old woman a second time. "We heard that you can see into the morrow," said Melara. "We just want to know the men we're going to marry." "Begone," croaked Maggy a third time. "Listen to her," the queen would have cried if she had her tongue. "You still have time to flee. Run, you little fools." The girl with the golden curls put her hands upon her hips. "Give us our foretelling, or I'll go to my lord father and have you whipped for insolence." "Please," begged Melara. "Just tell us our futures, then we'll go." "Some are here who have no futures," Maggy muttered in her terrible deep voice. She pulled her robe about her shoulders and beckoned the girls closer. "Come, if you will not go. Fools, come. Yes, I must taste your blood." Melara paled, but not Cersei. A lioness does not fear a frog, no matter how old and ugly she might be. She should have gone. She should have listened. She should have run away. Instead, she took the dagger Maggy offered her and ran the twisted iron blade across the ball of her thumb. Then she did Melara too. In the dim green tent, the blood seemed more black than red. Maggy's toothless mouth trembled at the sight of it. "Here," she whispered. "Give it here." When Cersei offered her hand, she sucked away the blood with gums as soft as a newborn babe's. The queen could still remember how queer and cold her mouth had been. "3 questions may you ask," the crone said once she'd had her drink. "You will not like my answers. Ask or be gone with you." "Go," the dreaming queen thought. "Hold your tongue and flee." But the girl did not have sense enough to be afraid. "When will I wed the prince?" she asked. "Never. You will wed the king." Beneath her golden curls, the girl's face wrinkled up in puzzlement. For years after that, she took those words to mean that she would not marry Rhaegar until after his father Aerys had died. "I will be queen, though?" asked the younger her. "Aye." Malice gleamed in Maggy's yellow eyes. "Queen you shall be until there comes another, younger and more beautiful, to cast you down and take all that you hold dear." Anger flashed across the child's face. "If she tries, I will have my brother kill her." Even then, she would not stop, willful child as she was. She still had one more question due her, one more glimpse into her life to come. "Will the king and I have children?" she asked. "Oh, aye. 6 and 10 for him and 3 for you." That made no sense to Cersei. Her thumb was throbbing where she'd cut it, and blood was dripping on the carpet. How could that be? She wanted to ask, but she was done with her questions. The old woman was not done with her, however. "Gold shall be their crowns, and gold their shrouds," she said. "And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you." "What is a Valonqar? Some monster?" The Golden Girl did not like the foretelling. You're a liar and a warty frog and a smelly old savage, and I don't believe a word of what you say. Come away, Malara. She's not worth hearing. I get 3 questions too, her friend insisted. And when Cersei tugged upon her arm, she wriggled free and turned back to the crone. Will I marry Jaime? She blurted out. You stupid girl, the queen thought, angry even now. Jaime does not even know you are alive. Back then, her brother lived only for swords and dogs and horses, and for her, his twin. Not Jaime, nor any other man, said Maggy. Worms will have your maidenhead. Your death is here tonight, little one. Can you smell her breath? She is very close. The only breath we smell is yours, said Cersei. There was a jar of some thick potion by her elbow sitting on a table. She snatched it up and threw it into the old woman's eyes. In life, the crone had screamed at them in some queer foreign tongue and cursed them as they fled her tent. But in the dream, her face dissolved, melting away into ribbons of gray mist until all that remained were 2 squinting yellow eyes. So that is Cersei's Valonqar dream. So before we go into examining the dream, let's first examine Maggy the Frog herself. Who is this lady? Who is she? Inside her tent, she has queer spices. She is a woods witch, but Cersei says that she is more than that. So she's called Maggy the Frog, but why a frog? Why Maggy? Is she called a frog because she's warty and ugly? I don't know. Let's look at something else inside of her tent. She has an iron brazier shaped like a basilisk's head. A basilisk is like a mythical creature, but in the real world, basilisks are like lizards. It's a reptile. So her tent is also a dim green. Her jowls are pebbly and green. Well, it's rumored that the Cranning men have green teeth from eating frogs. They're called frog eaters sometimes. Cranning men are also tied to lizards. Another thing about Cranning men, they wear a lot of green. The Cranning men are also connected to the Children of the Forest and the Green Men of the God's Eye, or the Isle of Faces. So Maggy the Frog could have some connection to the Cranning men or the Children of the Forest. So it's said that she's from Essos. Maybe, maybe not. Maggy is likely a bastard term of Magi or mage. I mean, Maggy the Frog has a real name, but no one speaks it because it's too long, which is much like the Children of the Forest. Bran and Mira made up names for those who sang the Song of the Earth. Ash and Leaf and Scales, Black Knife and Snowy Locks and Coals. Their true names were too long for human tongues, said Leaf. Bran and Mira named them based off of their features or things about them. Snowy Locks is named Snowy Locks because she has snowy locks. She has white hair. So Maggy the Frog could have been named in a similar fashion. I don't recall the woman's name, something long and eastern and outlandish. The small folk used to call her Maggy. So Maggy is basically called Maggy the Frog because she looks like a frog, and her real name is long and eastern and outlandish, which is a parallel to the Children of the Forest. The children's names were too long for human tongues. Also, Maggy the Frog has yellow eyes, and the Children of the Forest have eyes as golden as the sun. The sun is yellow, gold is yellow. But anyway, but Cersei seems to think that Maggy the Frog is from Essos. So if she is from Essos, how on earth could she be related to the Children of the Forest, and why does she have all these parallels with the Children of the Forest? Well, Lady Merryweather's accent and voice reminds Cersei of Maggy the Frog. It was a woman's voice, flavored with the accents of the East. For an instant, she feared that Maggy the Frog was speaking to her from the grave. But it was only Merryweather's wife, the slow-eyed beauty Lord Orton had wed during his exile and fetched home with him to Longtable. Lady Merryweather is from Mere, so that's crazy, right? How do we have all of these children of the forest parallels with Maggy the Frog, but it's a Mere-ish woman that sounds so much like Maggy the Frog that Cersei thinks that Maggy the Frog is speaking to her from the grave. So let's look at Mere. The origins of Mere are murkier. The Meremen are believed by certain Macers to be akin to the Rhoynar, as many of them share the same olive skin and dark hair as the river people. But this supposed link is likely spurious. There are certain signs that a city stood where Mere now stands, even during the Dawn Age and the Long Night, raised by some ancient vanished people. We have a lot of stories in the world of Ice and Fire about vanished people and woods walkers and things like that. So could these ancient vanished people of Mere have had some connection to the children of the forest, or could they have even been children of the forest that fled across the land bridge before it was broken? But if Maggy the Frog is tied to weirwood magic, then her visions have to be reliable. Her visions are proven accurate that very night. Maggy the Frog tells Melara that death is close, that she will die tonight, that worms will have her maidenhead. It's a common belief that Cersei actually killed Melara in a jealous rage because Melara asked Maggy the Frog if she would marry Jaime.
Things I do for love.
So Cersei was not having none of that, and she killed Melara, pushed her down a well, but that's just a theory. Although Melara did die that very night, just like Maggy the Frog predicted. So Maggy the Frog's predictions about Cersei being queen, that came true. Cersei was queen, and Cersei still is queen, but let's talk about that part. So Cersei thought that Maggy meant that she wouldn't marry Rhaegar until after Aerys died. So Cersei isn't necessarily correct about interpreting what her prophecy even means. Cersei is an unreliable source when it comes to her thoughts on this prophecy, and that's kind of important because we'll get to it later. So Maggy says, "Queen you will be until there comes another more beautiful that will cast you down and take everything you hold dear." So people have said that this was Sansa. People have said that it was Marjorie. Cersei thought it was Marjorie, but it's not them. It could still be Sansa technically, but I think it's more likely that it's Daenerys. Daenerys is the most beautiful person in this whole story. That's what we're kind of told. So Cersei thought it was Marjorie, and her paranoia ate Cersei alive. But in the show, Marjorie is dead and gone, and Cersei is still queen. I'm pretty sure the books will follow this same story. So I don't think it can be Marjorie, but it could be Daenerys. So what does Cersei even hold dear anymore? At first it was her children. They're dead. Gold was their crowns, their hair, and gold was their shrouds. They're all dead on the show. In the books, Tommen and Myrcella are alive. I feel like they're gonna die too. It's gonna be the same in the books for Tommen and Myrcella. Cersei held Jaime dear, but Jaime's gone. So what does Cersei have left that she holds dear? Her power, the Iron Throne, the crown, Westeros. So Daenerys is going to take all of that from her, but it's the last part of the prophecy that drives people insane. "And when your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat and choke the life from you." Now, there are a lot of theories that the Valonqar is a woman, because the term Valonqar means little brother in Valyrian, and Valyrian is gender neutral. So people have theories that it could also mean little sister. So tons of people think that Daenerys, Sansa, or Arya could be the Valonqar. Even though Valyrian is gender neutral, the common tongue is not gender neutral. And the prophecy says the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat. His definitely implies a man, not a woman. So I think that we can rule out Arya, Sansa, and Daenerys and any other woman that you can think of. It doesn't say her hands. It doesn't say its hands. It says his. So 99% it's a male that will kill her. Now let's look at the Valonqar translation. So Valonqar translates to little brother. Keep in mind, it does not say your little brother. It says the Valonqar, not your Valonqar. And George even drops a hint at this in A Feast for Crows. Someone brings Cersei a dwarf's head and says, I've brought your Valonqar. He didn't say I brought the Valonqar. He said I brought your Valonqar, even though it wasn't even Tyrion. But that changes things. The changes things. So Cersei is taking this prophecy literally as in her Valonqar is going to kill her. And the prophecy does not say that. The prophecy says the Valonqar, not your Valonqar. Cersei believes that the Valonqar is her Valonqar, Tyrion. But Cersei hasn't been right about anything yet in this prophecy. She is wrong about marrying Rhaegar after Aerys dies, and she is wrong about who the younger, more beautiful queen was. So what are the odds that Tyrion is the one to kill Cersei? I find it highly unlikely. From a storytelling point of view, if Tyrion was the one to kill Cersei, that would actually justify the way she has treated him. That would make her paranoia towards him justified. That would also break the pattern of her being wrong about everything else in the prophecy. So if we eliminate Tyrion, then the last brother we have left is Jaime. Now, I hate to disappoint, but it's not Jaime either. I actually wish it was Jaime. I would love to see Jaime choke Cersei to death. I actually hope I'm wrong and it is Jaime, but I don't think I'm wrong. Jaime is Cersei's little brother. Cersei was born before Jaime. Jaime came into the world holding onto Cersei's foot. But one glaring part of the prophecy that absolutely excludes Jaime is this: the Valonqar shall wrap his hands about your pale white throat. Jaime does not have hands. He has a hand. His golden hand doesn't count. It's gold. It's a solid. You can't wrap a hand of a solid gold around anything, let alone a throat. But if it's not Jaime, then who is it?
Ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to grow up and marry the most beautiful woman in the world. So here I am, with 1,000 ships and 2 good hands.
It's Euron, and I have the evidence to back it up. Let's look at the prophecy again, bit by bit. And when your tears have drowned you, drowned, what a clue. Cersei's tears have brought her down to deal with the king of the drowned. What's the religion of House Greyjoy? The drowned god. Who are the worshippers of the drowned god? The drowned men. When Euron won the King's Moot, what happened to him? He was drowned. So let's look at the Valonqar parts. The Valonqar means the little brother. Again, it does not mean your little brother. It does not say your little brother. It says the little brother. So Euron was Balon's little brother. He wasn't his littlest brother, but he was a little brother. So let's look even further. Why is the Valonqar the only word of this prophecy that's in Valyrian? Why? The entire prophecy is in the common tongue, but when we get to the little brother part, the prophecy switches to Valyrian. Why? Why does this happen? I personally think it means the Valonqar has some ties to Valyria, and that's why that specific part is the only part of this entire prophecy that's in Valyrian. So if that's the case, who has ties to Valyria right now in the story? Jon, Daenerys, and Euron. Jon and Daenerys have blood of old Valyria. They have Targaryen blood, but it can't be Daenerys. I guess it could be Jon, but why would it be Jon? But anyway, Euron is the only living man to have allegedly walked the ruins of Valyria, and he has the goods to prove it. He has Dragonbinder, a Valyrian dragon horn, an entire suit of Valyrian steel armor. He has the closest ties to Valyria that aren't blood. So yeah, Jon has Valyrian blood and Daenerys has Valyrian blood, but Euron has walked the ruins of Valyria. So then you might ask, why would Euron kill Cersei? And the simplest answer to that is because Euron's a monster, and also because Euron wants to be king. So Euron can't be king unless he marries Cersei. But once he's married her, he has no more need of her because now he's king. Also, she would probably irritate the balls off of him because she will still want to be the ultimate power. But if Cersei marries him, she passes that power to him. Cersei knows this. That's why she's stalling. She doesn't want to marry Euron Greyjoy. She knows once she marries him that he doesn't have any use for her. So he might kill her and just usurp her throne for himself. I think that Euron is going to be the one that ends up killing her. But I don't think it's going to happen until the beautiful queen casts her down and takes everything that she holds dear. So I don't think Cersei dies until after Jon and Daenerys take King's Landing, because that's the last thing that she holds dear, the Iron Throne. But what do you think? Is Euron the Valonqar, and will Cersei make it all the way to seeing King's Landing fall to the wolves and the dragons? You let me know. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.